When Shen Lingshan brought up divorce for the third time for the sake of her first love, I agreed. But he hesitated. He confirmed with me again. Are you sure? This isn't a joke. I looked at that familiar face. I smiled in relief. If you've thought it through, then go ahead and leave. Shen Lingshan stared at my signature for a long time. Are you sure you've thought it through? Her voice sounded a bit heavy. Her eyes are filled with complex emotions. This is not a joke. Don't sign and then regret it later. I don't have time to play house with you. She always has a stern expression. It seems ever since we got married. He hardly smiles at me anymore. I used to cling to her a lot. I didn't want a divorce. She hates me, if anything. Why would they give me a good face? I calmly took off the ring from my ring finger and placed it on the coffee table. I smiled at him. I've thought it through. The fence heard this response. Lingshan's brows furrowed even tighter. Ling Ran, I'm asking you again. Have you thought it through? Her expression was very cold. I know he keeps asking me, just to warn me not to back out halfway. After all, listening to her first love, they'll fly abroad to settle down after our divorce. But seeing his attitude so firm, I actually feel relieved. Because in the past, I would never let go no matter what. But now I can let it go. Lin Shan. I hold Shen Lingshan's hand, calling his name for the last time. His gaze flickered slightly. Since you've let him go, the words were only half spoken. I took off her wedding ring. Shen Lingshan for one night. I calmly threw that pair of wedding rings into the trash can. 3 years ago, I was filled with passion, personally putting the ring on Shen Lingshan's finger. 3 years later, I personally took it off for him. From then on, this relationship was completely over. It's over between us. When I said I would marry Shen Lingshan, I didn't even know Zhao Yang existed. I thought our encounter and connection were all due to destiny. But it wasn't until after we got married that Zhao Yang showed up, and I realized it was the biggest joke ever. I've often heard Lin Shan mention you, saying we are quite similar. Now I've finally managed to come back from abroad. I was just thinking that we have to meet at least once. Zhao Yang greeted me like an old friend. Hello, my name is Zhao Yong. I'm a friend of Ling Shan. Thank you for taking care of him all these years. I stood there in shock. I let him say those seemingly possessive words. I didn't even notice he had made my hand turn red from holding it. Shen Lingshan warmly welcomed Zhao Yong. She opened the high-quality tea leaves, meant as a gift for my dad. Pouring tea for Zhao Yong, in the moment Zhao Yong took the cup, he casually touched Shen Lingshan's hand. Even though Shen Lingshan quickly pulled her hand back, I still caught that moment. It's been years. I didn't expect you to remember which tea I like. Back when we traveled together, you mentioned that this tea smelled wonderful. I've always remembered that. They were reminiscing about their past together, a past that only belongs to them, without me. I stood at the doorway, feeling out of place. Suddenly, I realized my marriage was in crisis. That night, I had my first argument with Shen Lingshan. Shen Lingshan didn't understand my anxiety. He defined all of this as my unreasonable fuss. I grew increasingly angry. I grabbed his wrist and questioned him. You and Zhao Yang have been childhood friends. It's each other's first love. You've kissed and dated. You even swore to get married in a country where divorce is not an option. Why didn't you tell me any of this? Why keep it from me? What do I really mean to you when it comes to Shen Lingshan? Shen Lingshan impatiently shook off my hand. He couldn't even be bothered to give me an explanation. Instead, he casually dismissed me with an indifferent attitude. Ling Ran, if I wanted to be with Zhao Yang, it would have happened long ago. Can you stop being so sensitive? Honestly, I should have seen this coming. My marriage with Shen Lingshan wasn't going to last, but I kept hoping to stretch it out for another day. On the 11th, I really loved him, you know? Loved him to the point of obsession. If I lost her, I don't know what I would become, but it seems I was just overthinking it. Maybe I didn't love him deeply enough. Or perhaps I can finally analyze rationally that he isn't worth my longing. In any case, if I had understood back then, the truth that short pain is better than long pain, I definitely wouldn't have dragged it out until now. Shen Lingshan doesn't look too good. Maybe he feels that it's embarrassing for me to suggest ending it. It probably hurt its pride. But what does it really matter in the end? I don't care anymore. When are you planning to go to the Civil Affairs Bureau? Give me a call ahead of time, so I can free up some time for you. As soon as I finished speaking, I turned around and left without looking back. But what I didn't expect was, Shen Lingshan came running after me. She blocked my way directly. Ling Ran, what trick are you trying to pull this time? Look, we're at a critical moment here. She's actually worried that I would agree to the divorce. What's she hiding? But what bad intentions could I possibly have? To put it simply, I just want to give him a way out. At the same time, it's a way to free myself. I couldn't help but sigh. I shook her hand off. Keep your worries to yourself. This time, I'm serious. I promise once the divorce is finalized, I won't cause you and Zhao Yang any more trouble. Besides, you have all decided to settle abroad. I can't let this little issue get to me. Just foolishly chase after them to another country. What do you mean by settling down? Wenyan Shen Lingshan had a look of confusion on her face. I'm not sure if I agreed to the divorce. She was too excited. I actually forgot about this matter, but I can't be bothered to explain much to him. Shen Lingshan, you should go back. I waved my hand at him. I should be heading back too. I noticed Shen Lingshan with her red eyes. She stared at me intently. Why did you suddenly agree this time? She asked, and I replied that I was tired. I answered lightly. Just for a meal, just to have a meal. It's really a bit much for him. I can't believe you still remember that. If it weren't for that meal, Shen Lingshan wouldn't keep bringing up divorce. But I was the one who got wronged here. I rushed to the market early in the morning to buy groceries, just to prepare a candlelit dinner for her. Thankfully, on this special anniversary, I was able to personally give her the gold necklace I bought as a gift. What did I do wrong? I went out of my way for this surprise. I'm just full of anticipation for the result. After all the effort, all I get is just a word from him. Cherry has a fever. I need to take her to the hospital for an IV. I won't be back tonight. It's really like drawing water with a bamboo basket. Such a waste. I look at this table full of carefully prepared dishes. I just can't figure out what makes me worse than Zhao Yang. Just then, my phone screen lit up. It's a message from a friend. Happy anniversary. I guess you're having a candlelit dinner right now. You might not see this message, but I still have to wish you well. Hey, you're flaunting your happiness again. This message just adds to my loneliness. It's almost too ironic. It wasn't until the next day that Shen Lingshan came back. As soon as he saw the table full of food, he was momentarily taken aback. Then you start complaining about me. Didn't I tell you not to wait for me? You made all this food and no one's eating it. Isn't it all going to waste? I was boiling with anger inside. At that moment, I just exploded. I had a huge argument with him. I even cursed for the first time in our marriage during a fight. Shen Lingshan was extremely upset. She raised her hand and slapped me. It's just a meal. Do you really have to be like this? I just don't get what's so upsetting about it. You can be jealous, but there's a limit, right? I really don't want to listen to him ramble on anymore. Just say it. Aren't you just thinking about rekindling your old flame with Zhao Yong? What are you pretending for? Ling Ran, are you out of your mind? Shen Lingshan just yelled at me. And just like that, we both fell silent. I simply shut my mouth, thinking about waiting until I calmed down. Have a good talk with Shen Lingshan about this matter. I never expected him to suddenly speak up at this moment. I just want to rekindle my old flame with Zhao Yong. Are you satisfied now? Zhao Yong is more handsome than you, wealthier than you, and more cultured than you, still more generous than you, and the only person I have ever loved is him. You are happy now. Only those who know you best know where to stab you. The pain you cause me feels like being tied to the executioner's platform. Every word from Shen Lingshan feels like a knife. Each cut slices into my flesh. Living like this really has no meaning at all. Looks like she's tired of shouting. Shen Lingshan looked at me coldly with a hoarse voice. All this just for a meal, and it turns into this mess. I'm really so exhausted. Maybe I should just get a divorce. In the end, he still blamed everything on that meal, but she just doesn't understand. This has nothing to do with that meal at all. Since then, Shen Lingshan has thrown the divorce agreement at me twice. Each time she shoved the agreement into my hands, she would remind me in a sarcastic tone, Lin Ran, everything that led us to this point is your fault. We're just not right for each other. Maybe this was a mistake from the very beginning. If only I had known sooner. You're the kind of person who would cause a big scene over a meal. I would never have married you back then. It's as if everything stems from that one meal. And now, Shen Lingshan has brought it up again, all because of one meal. Seeing that I didn't say anything, he asked again. He seemed determined to get to the bottom of it. But what difference does it make? Even if I explained all the reasons in detail to her, she doesn't seem to absorb a single word, because there's never been a place for me in his heart. Was it really just about that meal for both of us? Honestly, it hasn't been that important for a while now, but maybe it's time to part ways. We need some excuse to shift the blame onto each other, right? Yeah, it really is because of that meal. I just laughed and went along with what he said. Shen Lingshan stood there in a daze. I had no idea what he wanted to say to me. I saw her lips move, but she still didn't say a word. We ended up staring at each other for a long time. Then Shen Lingshan finally spoke up. You should stay. This place was originally yours. As she said this, she began to pack her things. I'm moving in with Kurui. We'll go to the Civil Affairs Bureau tomorrow. Hearing her say that, I felt like a heavy stone had been lifted off my heart. I was still pondering, when he brings up Zhao Yong in front of me again, whether I would still get jealous and hurt like before. But fortunately, I've already moved on. Alright, I'll ask him what time tomorrow. Upon hearing this, Shen Lingshan suddenly paused while packing her luggage. He stared blankly for several seconds, then slammed the suitcase down onto the floor in frustration. He just looked at me like that, with a gaze that seemed both questioning and reproachful. Her eyes were filled with a mix of emotions that were hard to describe, all hidden beneath a thin layer of coldness. I couldn't see clearly. He texted me back at 8 o'clock tomorrow morning, but his gaze never left me for even a second. The Civil Affairs Bureau doesn't even open until 8. How desperate is he to get a divorce from me? I couldn't help but let out a bitter laugh inside. It's not that I can't bear to part with him. It's just that it doesn't feel worth it. I feel that my past efforts were not worth it. I also regret the entanglement and heartache over the past 3 years. No problem. I'll see you tomorrow at the entrance of the Civil Affairs Bureau. I nodded. Is there anything else you need to pack? Do you want me to call Zhao Yang so he can come pick you up? Ling Ran and Shen Lingshan looked like they wanted to say something but hesitated. She bit her lip before continuing. Actually, we never expected things would escalate to this point. It's all my fault. I interrupted him with a retort. She shook her head in surprise at my words. Actually, I wanted to say that. You already said that 3 years ago. I cut him off directly. I chuckled at myself. I never really responded before, but now that we're about to part ways, I still want to say a few words for myself. I laugh with complete ease. It's like talking about someone who is completely unrelated to oneself. The emotional troubles of those who can't reach their loved ones. It feels like telling some trivial jokes. It's not my fault that I spoke in a flat tone. Shenling Shan, you were the one who let go of my hand first. Now I also intend to let go. I hope that after the divorce, we will never see each other again in this lifetime. The person who drove over to pick up Shenling Shan is Zhao Yong. It's still me notifying you. He was completely unaware, just like Shenling Shan. Before leaving, he greeted me over and over again. Lingran, I'm leaving, so I won't see you off. Then I'm really leaving. I'm going. When he greeted me for the third time, I couldn't help but feel a bit impatient. I simply blocked the doorway and told him to go. She looked a bit downcast after hearing that. Zhao Yang was quite thoughtful, helping her load all her luggage into the car. She kept looking back at me as she walked away, so I just closed the door right away. In that moment of closing the door, I caught a glimpse of Shenling Shan looking back reluctantly, but I acted as if I didn't see her and turned to leave. That night, I slept exceptionally soundly. My heart finally felt at peace. It was as if a heavy stone that had been weighing on my chest had finally been lifted. I could finally take a breath. The next morning, I specially dressed quite formally. It's all about attending that long-awaited witness after a delay of 3 years. Shenling Shan was accompanied by Zhao Yong, entering the door of the Civil Affairs Bureau, and there is indeed no one around me. However, I don't feel disappointed at all. On the contrary, I feel refreshed and invigorated, because I am about to yin Lila a brand new beginning. There are not many people coming to handle procedures in the morning, so Shenling Shan and I completed all the processes in no time. It was time to say goodbye. We walked out of the door, one after the other. Shenling Shan didn't say a word. Zhao Yong was by my side, making small talk. But it all went in one ear and out the other for him. I was just about to find a nearby place to grab a bite, when I saw a woman walking directly towards me. Her figure was nothing short of perfection. She even smiled at me. My mind went blank for a moment. Suddenly, a familiar figure emerged from the depths of my memory. He walked up to me and took off his sunglasses, glancing sideways at Shenling Shan behind me. He even let out a couple of chuckles. Then he said to me, "You didn't get to have your wedding, but I didn't expect to catch you at your divorce. Happy divorce, Linran. Let me treat you to a meal." I never expected to see Su Qingyan again. Counting on my fingers, it's been a long time since we've last met. The last time we saw each other was probably on my wedding day. I still remember the night before the wedding. Wang Deng called me. He said Su Qinglian got drunk at our favorite hot pot restaurant. I asked him how she ended up in that state. Wang Geng sighed and handed the phone to Su Qingyan. He told him to explain it to me himself. Su Qingyan took the call and laughed drunkenly. "Congratulations on your wedding, Linran." I asked her how she could drink so much. "Will you be able to get up tomorrow to be the bridesmaid?" There was suddenly silence on the other end of the phone. After a while, Su Qingyan hesitantly said, "I'm happy for your wedding. I'm happy drinking too. Isn't it okay for me to be happy?" Su Qingyan's voice sounded a bit off. I wonder if she's caught a cold. Her voice sounds muffled. I sighed and said that no matter how happy I am, I can't drink like this. Seeing you happy makes me happy too. I would like to persuade a bit more. Who knows that Wang Geng's voice came from the other end of the phone. Su Qingyan has already fallen asleep. He told me not to worry and said he had already contacted Su Qingyan's brother. The next day, Su Qingyan acted as if nothing had happened. Appeared at my wedding. She looks radiant. The smile is simply radiant. It's just like last night when Su Qingyan got completely wasted. It was just an unreal dream I had. Su Qingyan warmly welcomed the guests who came to attend the wedding. She even helped me get everything organized perfectly. She executed the whole process flawlessly. Even Shenling Shan couldn't help but express her admiration. How devoted is Su Qingyan, making it feel like her own wedding. Wang Geng, standing nearby, just shook his head with a knowing look. Of course she's devoted, but being devoted doesn't necessarily mean being happy. I didn't quite understand the hidden meaning behind Wang Geng's words at that time. Just as I was about to ask Su Qingyan about it, someone rushed over and changed the topic. Then later, they told me to discuss the wedding details with me, and then comforted me by saying not to be nervous. She just looked at me, and with the most sincere tone, wished me a lifetime of happiness. As soon as the wedding was over, I hadn't even had a chance to take off my dress, when Su Qingyan hurriedly ran off to go abroad. I heard from his brother that he plans to go abroad for further studies. I called Su Qingyan, but he didn't answer. I guess he might not have seen it, so I sent him a message. Why is he in such a hurry? I was hoping we could all get together. He only replied to me in the evening. There will be plenty of opportunities to meet again. Time flies, and Su Qingyan has been abroad this whole time without coming back. Wang Gang is busy with work and dealing with his family pressuring him for a second child. And I don't even need to mention my situation. I've been worn out, both physically and mentally, from the emotional turmoil. The promise we made has passed for a full 3 years, and it still hasn't come true. When we met again, I actually felt a bit dazed. What's going on? It's only been 3 years since we last saw each other. I hope you haven't forgotten me. Su Qingyan poked my chest with her index finger. Pretending to be angry, she said, "This is really unfair of you." That's when I finally realized. When did you come back? Why didn't you give me a heads up? I could have gone to the airport with Wang Ging to pick you up. Su Qingyan seemed pretty happy with my answer. She even started joking around. If you don't mind the trouble, I can take a taxi to the airport right now and pick you up all over again. He made me laugh out loud all of a sudden. By the way, I asked him how he ended up here. I should have only told Wang Gang about my divorce, right? Didn't I say it was just a coincidence? Su Qingyan casually tossed her hair. It just shows we have a connection. Shen Lingshan looked at Su Qingyan with a wary expression. Although he didn't say anything, I could clearly see the hostility in his eyes. Just then, Zhao Yong's phone rang. He walked a short distance away to take the call. Meanwhile, Shen Lingshan was staring intently at the two of us. "How long are you planning to stay in the country?" I asked Su Qingyan. "Let's also call Wang Ging so we can have a good get-together. You don't need to tell me. I've already arranged everything." Su Qingyan casually pulled me away from Shen Lingshan. I told Wang Gang that I would go to his house for hot pot tonight. I even specifically asked him to add a clear broth for the base. "But first, you need to accompany me for breakfast." "How do you even eat with just clear broth? Lin Ran doesn't like it at all. Why do you insist on dragging her along?" Suddenly, Shen Lingshan interjected. The surroundings immediately fell into a peaceful silence. Su Qing and I both looked at Shen Lingshan at the same time. Even Zhao Yong, who was on the phone, heard the commotion. He instinctively glanced this way. Shen Lingshan looked a bit awkward. She immediately turned her head, desperately avoiding my gaze. Su Qingyan seemed to take an interest instead. He squared off against her directly. "You really have a wide scope for meddling, huh? You're divorced and still sticking your nose into other people's business. Hey, Miss Gu, what identity are you speaking from?" Su Qingyan's mocking laughter made Shen Lingshan feel deeply humiliated. "There are still 30 days until we can get the divorce certificate, so we aren't truly divorced yet," she said through gritted teeth. Shen Lingshan wasn't wrong in what she said, but what's the difference between 30 days ago and 30 days later? Clearly, during our arguments before, he himself had said, "Do you think you're something special?" If it weren't for the hassle of getting a divorce, I would have left with Zhao Yong long ago. Why make a big deal out of it? He should be even more eager to get that divorce certificate than I am. "Oh, so you mean you don't plan on getting divorced? Shouldn't you check with the person on the other end of the call, whether he agrees or not?" Su Qingyan pressed further with a question. He stood in front of me and continued speaking. "It's really quite funny. So you want to keep your options open while you're still in a relationship, huh? We're all women here. What are you trying to act so deeply in love for, in front of me?" Even a dog would shake its head at that. Su Qingyan's words have always been venomous. I used to remind him all the time, "You need to watch your words from now on. Not everyone treats you like a princess. Be careful not to suffer a big loss from others." But Su Qingyan just shrugged it off. "If they don't mess with me, I won't mess with them. But if someone steps on my toes, I'll make sure to give them a piece of my mind." Wang Gang squinted and smiled. "It's still better being a woman. We men can't be so straightforward. There are a lot of things to consider." 3 years have passed, and he still hasn't changed a bit. After scolding, Su Qingyan couldn't help but sneak a glance at me. He knows that I don't like him this way. But today, for the first time, I actually find myself enjoying this feeling a bit. It seems that people are labeled with all kinds of tags from the moment they are born. Men should accommodate women. A man should be magnanimous. I also tried my best to make this failed marriage work. Continue to maintain the so-called principle. I'm really exhausted. All kinds of shackles bind me tightly. I feel like I'm trapped in a cage, sinking to the bottom of the sea. I couldn't even shout out once, but now someone has stepped up to help me vent this frustration. They made some valid points. It actually feels pretty good. Zhao Yong finished his call. He walked over to Shen Lingshan's side. It was obvious he must have heard everything just now. Shen Lingshan and Su Qingyan were arguing, but he chose to pretend he didn't see anything. He said to Shen Lingshan, "Lin Shan, I have some urgent matters at the company. I have to leave now. I can't see you off." "What did you say?" Shen Lingshan looked at Zhao Yong in disbelief. But Zhao Yong didn't give Shen Lingshan any time to react. He just took off running. "Haha, the original wife has left you. Now even the mistress has run away." Su Qingyan pretended to be very surprised. She even covered her mouth with her hand. "You really are pitiful." Shen Lingshan's face turned red with anger. I've never seen him look so embarrassed. It used to be him who put me in awkward situations, throwing tantrums without regard for the occasion, pointing fingers at my elders during family gatherings, calling me out in front of my friends for everything I did wrong. I've never complained about it. But now, I don't have to put up with that anymore. Su Qingyan, don't think I don't know. I know what you're plotting. Shen Lingshan's veins were bulging as she said sharply, "Wow, so you can read minds too? Look at how defensive you are towards me. Then why don't you try and see what I'm thinking right now? Am I calculating how to slap you to relieve my anger? Or am I planning to take advantage of the situation and go after your ex-husband?" Su Qingyan finished speaking, and even provocatively leaned closer to me. "You cheated and still think you have a point? Do you have the nerve to make a fuss here? You really think you're something, just because I gave you a bit of face. My suggestion for you is this. Go home and pour a bucket of oil into the pot. See if the oil splashes more, or if you're just more pathetic. Shen Lingshan was really upset, acting like a lunatic. Shen Lingshan, just speak without cursing. I reminded him in a stern tone. Shen Lingshan looked at me in shock. She was just cursing at me. I didn't hear what I just missed. Now I can hear it. Shen Lingshan was suddenly choked up. Su Qingyan smirked with satisfaction. He leaned on my shoulder and rolled his eyes at Shen Lingshan. Isn't that just asking for trouble? Deservedly, he's getting scolded from both sides. I said I would treat Su Qingyan to a meal and took him away. Before leaving, Su Qingyan turned back to give one last warning. Lin Ran is a straightforward person. He thought if he just endured a bit, it would pass. But I'm different. Shen Lingshan, you'd better not cause him trouble in the future. Otherwise, let's wait and see. Shen Lingshan looked at me unwillingly. It seemed like he wanted me to say a few words for him, but I didn't. He just stood there at the door, watching our car drive away. When he left, he was all alone, just like when I came. In the evening, Su Qingyan and I met as agreed, went to Wang Gang's house to eat hot pot. His wife warmly came out to entertain us. Su Qingyan even specially brought gifts for each of them. Wang Gang placed the cooked tripe into my bowl. Joke with me, this bite that you love the most. This time, don't say I'm competing with you. Su Qingyan blinked and said, Lin Ran still prefers to eat lighter food, right? Wang Gang laughed as if he had just heard a joke. What are you talking about, Su Qingyan? Didn't we often go out for hot pot before? Lin Ran even had to cook his meat in the clear broth. If he eats too greasy, his stomach gets upset. Don't you remember that Shen Lingshan seriously said that Lin Ran doesn't like clear broth? As if she understood him so well. Su Qingyan scratched his head. I thought Lin Ran's taste really changed. You have no idea how uncertain I felt this morning. When I argued with Shen Lingshan, I was really unsure of myself. After Su Qingyan said this, no one responded. Wang Gang coughed a couple of times, gesturing for Su Qingyan to stop talking. He stole a glance at me and silently added 2 pieces of beef to my bowl. I understood Wang Gang's good intentions, of course. Shen Lingshan loves spicy food and always complains that my cooking is too bland. She'd reject any meal that tasted even slightly bland, going so far as to dump it all out without a single bite. After we got married, I tossed aside all my previous food preferences and started eating the spicy and numbing dishes with her. Maybe it's because I've been eating this way for so long that I've forgotten I changed my eating habits just for her. To be honest, I don't really like spicy food at all, and I'm even slightly allergic to chili peppers. But he doesn't know any of this at all, because he never paid attention. After 3 rounds of drinks, Su Qingyan was already out of it. Wang Gang and I wanted to persuade him to stop drinking. He just waved his hand and laughed. I'm happy about your divorce. I'm happy drinking too. Seeing you happy makes me happy as well. These words are just like what he said when I got married 3 years ago. I helplessly poured him a glass of cold water to sober him up. Back when I got married, you were happy. Why are you happy now that I'm getting a divorce? Su Qingyan fell silent. She just kept grinning foolishly. Her previous happiness was just a facade. Now this is genuine joy. Just then, Wang Gang's wife suddenly spoke up. He collected all the trash from the table into the bin. He then said, You all have eaten enough, and it's getting late. Lin Ran, why don't you take Su Qingyan home? Here, it's enough for me and Lao Wang to clean up. Oh fine, I'll get up to help Su Qingyan. Wang Gang also came over wanting to help, but his wife swatted his hand away. Su Qingyan coldly said, What are you doing getting involved? Come over and help me with the dishes. Wang Gang rubbed his hands and said, Then I'll see them off. His wife pushed Wang Gang back toward the kitchen. Save it, you have no awareness at all. Wang Gang and I exchanged glances. The two of them exchanged awkward smiles. His wife walked me to the door. She patted my shoulder and said to drive carefully. Be safe on the road. All right. I dropped Su Qingyan off at his house. His older brother came out to greet him. When he saw Su Qingyan looking drunk, he didn't ask a single question. Instead, he just took Su Qingyan inside. He even asked if I wanted to come in for a bit. I waved my hand to refuse. Exchanged a couple of pleasantries with him again. Just drove home. The next day at noon, someone suddenly came to knock on the door. I opened the door and took a look. It turns out to be Shen Lingshan. Is there something I can ask him? I left something here. Come back to get it. Then you take it yourself. I turned to the side to make way for him. He just took 2 steps inside. But suddenly, the whole person stiffened. Do you not want any of these anymore? Shen Lingshan lowered her head. The 5 fingers hanging by my side are strained. The tips of my fingers have turned a bit pale. I followed his gaze and looked over. Those are some odds and ends I threw in the trash can. Most of them carry the memories of both of us. I don't need any of it anymore. Yeah, I don't need any of it. I tidied up the house this morning. It's much cleaner now, I must say. Her back was turned to me. The lines of her shoulders suddenly tensed up. He didn't say a word either. He just stood there motionless. After a long while, he slowly crouched down. He started rummaging through the trash can, piece by piece. Inside are the bracelets we exchanged when we first started dating. Handmade pottery made it together on a date. She got drunk on the night of the wedding. A sudden inspiration to draw a confession card for me. In addition, there are some Sheh Almi ornaments, bought according to her preferences. These things that I once regarded as treasures, It is now worthless. Even sell it at the recycling station. It may not even be possible to exchange for a few steel springs. It's really quite funny when you think about it. I've put in all my effort to maintain this relationship, but in the end, I can't compare to others. That glance we shared when we reunited after a long time. I feel like a gambler who's lost all his stakes. If you don't want it, just give it to me. Shenling Shan turned to look at me. Can I force a smile that's even uglier than crying? This version of Shenling Shan is definitely not attractive. You could even say she's a bit disheveled. Maybe she felt that her smile was awkward, so she stopped forcing herself to smile. Instead, she busied herself looking through the things she had just picked out of the trash. If you want it, just take it. It'll save me another trip to throw it away, I said in a flat tone. Shen Lingshan looked up, her eyes seemed to glisten with tears. You really don't want any of it? He asked me again. What, are you backing out too? Then just leave it here. When I take out the trash later, I'll take this out with me. No need, I want it all. Can you help me find a bag? I'll pack it up and take it back. There are trash bags under the coffee table. You can find it yourself. I just pointed casually. Then I turned around and got busy in the kitchen. Before long, when I turned back, I saw Shen Lingshan sitting on a stool, staring blankly at me. It looked like she had lost her mind. It was really puzzling. I called out to her a couple of times. Only then did she snap back to reality. She smiled at me apologetically. I remember you used to always be in the kitchen, busy running around trying to make me happy. Just saw you cooking in the kitchen. It felt like we were back in the past. Those times were really joyful. I interrupted Shen Lingshan. You said you came to pick up something you left behind. Did you get it now? Shen Lingshan paused for a moment before answering. Yeah, I got it. Is there nothing else left? I don't think so. I washed the dishes, served dinner, and sat down. Is there anything else? Shen Lingshan paused for a moment and suddenly asked me, do you mind if I stay and eat with you? I looked at the oyster sauce lettuce and steamed fish on the table, feeling quite puzzled. These dishes really aren't to his taste. So why does he insist on staying? Eating face to face with someone I don't like. And the food I don't enjoy. Sorry, I only made enough for one person, I said without leaving any room for negotiation. Shen Lingshan sensed the emotion in my words. Sorry, did I cause you trouble? He fell silent. You can leave now, I reminded him. Shen Lingshan smiled bitterly. You're so eager to rush me out. I thought for a moment before answering him. You're really choosing your words carefully with me, aren't you? This is quite unusual. I can't believe I actually heard those words from him. In the past, it was always me complaining about him. Shen Lingshan looked at me with a sense of loss on her face. She scrutinized me for a couple of seconds. Then, a bit dejected, she turned to leave with her bag of trash. As she reached the door, she suddenly turned back, as if a resolution had been made. Actually, that day I handed you the divorce papers. It wasn't. He couldn't finish his words, because Su Qingyan's arrival was not. Su Qingyan walked up to me and asked with great interest. Shen Lingshan frowned unhappily. What are you here for? Wow, this is really interesting. Su Qingyan shot Shen Lingshan a glare. So what are you here for? What a coincidence running into you. The two of us just keep going back and forth like this. Neither one is willing to back down. We were at a standstill for quite a while. In the end, it was Shen Lingshan who gave in first. She just said hi and then left. Why are you eating so early? Su Qingyan plopped down in a chair. My brother even said he'd invite you over for dinner. I smiled and added another bowl for you. Sure. Su Qingyan rested her chin on her hand. She looked at me with a cheerful smile. I haven't tasted your cooking in a long time. I served Su Qingyan another bowl of rice. She ate it with such delight. Your cooking is so delicious. Whoever marries you in the future will be very lucky. As she said this, she took another bite of rice. Su Qingyan has never been stingy with her compliments. In the past, when I faced setbacks, she would provide me with emotional support like this. She would give me example after example of my strengths, telling me not to lose heart. Being with her feels really comfortable. As for the future, who knows? But for now, you're in for a treat. I joked with him, with a smile. Su Qingyan's eyes were squinted into a narrow line from laughing. I also want to have a treat in the future. How about I marry you instead? Su Qingyan cradled her face with both hands. She lifted her head to look at me. After all, you're bound to find someone to remarry eventually. And we're both being pressured by our families to get married. So why don't we just make do with each other? That way, I can enjoy good food every day. There was a hint of teasing in his tone. It was no different from how he usually spoke. But when I locked eyes with him, I found her gaze was as fiery as fire. It didn't seem like she was joking at all. I was momentarily stunned. Then she suddenly burst out laughing. But her laugh sounded a bit strained. How could I scare you with a joke? Whenever Su Qingyan tells a lie, she unconsciously bites her lip. These little gestures can't fool her, even if she forces a smile to hide it. I could see through her like a clear mirror. Why aren't you saying anything? Did I really scare you? Su Qingyan looked at me with a worried expression. Sorry about that. I just wanted to make a joke with you. They say I may have gone a bit too far. Please don't be mad at me. Let's take a step back. Even if we can't be together, we're still friends, right? I know very well what it's like to lower your guard for someone. I feel really upset inside. Su Qingyan has been smiling all the while, but I can clearly see the hint of redness at the corners of her eyes. Su Qingyan, stop it. I wanted to reach out and pat her head to comfort her. But just as my hand was halfway there, I realized it might not be appropriate. so I pulled it back. Let's talk about your years abroad. Let's talk about something that makes us happy. Su Qingyan stared at me for a long time, then finally nodded in agreement. I chatted with him for a really long time, from the sun rising in the east to the sun setting in the west, from sunflowers to the stars in the sky. Both of us were really enthusiastic, not feeling tired at all. After seeing Su Qingyan off, I am sitting alone on the sofa. I recalled the words he said to me during our meal, but I don't know how to respond to her. I don't know what kind of identity I should use anymore. Go spend time with her. Su Qingyan is a really good girl, but I can't help it either. Just ended a relationship and immediately withdrew. Invest in another relationship. I tossed and turned all night. I just can't fall asleep. In the days that followed, I can't tell if it's Su Qingyan or not. She couldn't handle the subtlety of our relationship either. She simply avoided mentioning what happened that day. I played along with her unspoken agreement. It was as if we had never discussed that topic at all. Behind that thin veil, we silently continued to be friends, until the 30-day cooling-off period was over. Shen Lingshan and I are going to the Civil Affairs Bureau to get our divorce certificate. Don't you have anything to say to me? Before stepping through the door of the Civil Affairs Bureau, Shen Lingshan looked at me with hopeful eyes, staring at me intently. All you have to say is Shen Lingshan. I interrupted him, not letting him finish his sentence. Let's get the certificate done quickly. I still have to meet Wang Geng and Su Qingyan later. Are we going out to eat? I said it's Su Qingyan again. Shen Lingshan's emotions suddenly became agitated. She nodded at me. Is there a problem? Shen Lingshan furrowed her brows tightly. You divorced me for Su Qingyan, and I laughed. Have you forgotten about the divorce? But you brought it up first. That was just a mistake. Mistakes in relationships. Can we really call them mistakes? But I don't want to delve into this issue for now, whether intentional or not. The fact is, we've mentioned divorce 3 times, and each time it was about Zhao Yong. I'm tired and frustrated, so I agreed to the divorce. We both consented to it. There's nothing wrong with that. We're already at this point. What's the point of saying more? I patted Shen Lingshan on the back. I urged her to go in quickly. I'm in a hurry. Ling ran. Why do we have to make such a fuss? What do you mean by that? We're just a step away from getting the certificate. Are you planning to tell me now that you still have lingering feelings for me? I said jokingly. Shen Lingshan hesitated for quite a while. In the end, he still bowed his head. He mumbled something in a very low voice. How could I possibly forget my old feelings for you? I know Shen Lingshan's temper all too well. He would never admit his mistakes. Just like now, exactly the same. But this is fine too. It saves me from having to say more, so let's go. I said it didn't take much time. We finally got the divorce certificate. From now on, I have nothing to do with Shen Lingshan. Before I left, she couldn't help but call out to me. If I hadn't given you that divorce agreement back then, would you still have brought up divorce? Yes. I wouldn't have hesitated for a second. Shen Lingshan paused and then said, what if I never saw Kiri again? Honestly, we both know deep down, the most direct reason for our divorce is because of Zhao Yong's appearance, but we both understand it better now. Even without Zhao Yong, there would still be online users like Li Yong. In short, once a crack appears in a relationship, it can never be repaired. I didn't answer Shen Lingshan's question, not because I wanted to avoid it, but because I felt it was unnecessary. No matter how much I say, it's all in vain. After parting ways with Shen Lingshan, I went to the usual place to find Wang Geng and Su Qingyan, who knew Wang Geng was suddenly called in by the company for work. So it was just Su Qingyan left. He saw me rushing over. He awkwardly smiled and said Wang Geng wasn't around. If it's inconvenient for you, we can reschedule for another day. Su Qingyan became very cautious, not knowing where to put his hands and feet. He was completely unlike the carefree person he was at the beginning. That's when I realized we really can't do this. Pretending not to see what happened before, it forced me to confront this issue that we don't really have to deal with. It's actually quite nice for the two of us to eat together. I sat across from him, reaching out to wipe the dishes for her. Su Qingyan's expression seemed a bit unnatural. I called out to Su Qingyan. There's something I want to discuss with you. Well, I hesitated for a moment. I was pondering how to bring it up politely. After thinking for a moment, I said, am I the type you like? Puff! Su Qinglian sprayed her drink everywhere. Everyone's eyes were glued to us. He quickly wiped the wet clothes on the table, his face flushed. Are you still half asleep? Why are you asking such a random question? I scratched my head. Sorry, maybe I didn't express myself clearly. Su Qingyan looked at me with a hint of doubt. He leaned in and asked, so what exactly do you want to ask? You like me, right? Tick-tock. The second hand on the wall silently made a full circle. Su Qingyan took out his phone and called Wang Geng. This is serious. It seems Lin Yuan's brain is fried. On the other end of the line, Wang Geng was completely confused. I calmly took Su Qingyan's phone. It's fine, you go ahead with what you're doing. Then he hung up the phone. Su Qingyan had no choice but to meet my gaze. When did you find out? He asked. A few days ago, when you joked about marrying me, but I said back then it was just a joke. You bite your lip when you lie. Su Qingyan fell silent for several seconds. So, are you laying it all on the table today? Does that mean we can't even be friends anymore? He looked down, a bitter smile tugging at his lips. If I had known, I wouldn't have joked about that. At least we can still be friends. Now it's even difficult to be friends. She said it half jokingly and half seriously. I have expressed my true feelings. I don't know why seeing him like this. My heart suddenly tightened. I sighed. What are you daydreaming about? Su Qingyan was taken aback and looked up at me. I really want to confront you, but I never thought about cutting ties with you. Ever since that thing happened before, it seems like you've been intentionally keeping your distance from me. Our relationship isn't as natural as it used to be. I feel a bit awkward about it. I paused for a moment, trying to find the right word to describe, feeling a bit lonely. You're not as chatty and talkative as you used to be. I actually find it hard to adjust to this. Su Qingyan, you're a really wonderful girl, but I just went through a failed relationship. It's okay. Su Qingyan suddenly became excited. I am willing to wait for you. It seems like there are stars twinkling in her eyes. I suddenly wondered where Su Qingyan actually came from. When did you start liking me? I wish I had met Shen Lingshan earlier. However, I think it might not be too late to start from now. After breaking through that layer of paper, our relationship has returned to the casual state it used to be. A few days later, Shen Lingshan suddenly called me. He said he was planning to fly abroad with Zhao Yong. He asked if I could meet him, but I refused. Just let him meet once. No need for a final meeting. Just open the door. I'm right at your doorstep. Shen Lingshan kept knocking on the door outside. Feeling annoyed, I had no choice but to open the door for him. So you finally agree to see me. He said he has seen the sword, so just go. I turned around and wanted to close the door, but he held the door with his hand. Wait, what exactly do you want to do? I asked him irritably. Shen Lingshan paused and stuffed a cufflink into my hand. Keep it as a memento. I used to love collecting cufflinks, but Shen Lingshan didn't like them. To him, it was just a waste of money. Once, a friend brought me a very special cufflink from out of town. I carefully treasured it in a box, but unfortunately, that day was a bad one. Shen Lingshan went out with Zhao Yang under the pretext of discussing business. Then the weather suddenly changed, and she got soaked to the skin. When he clumsily returned home and saw the cufflink on my desk, his anger flared up even more. It's my fault for being so focused on my cufflinks that I didn't notice the heavy rain outside and didn't go to pick her up in time. You care so much about your cufflinks. Why not just live with them instead? Why even bother marrying me? In a fit of anger, she picked up that brocade box and ran downstairs to throw it away. Thinking back now, it really brings a flood of emotions. Looking at this cufflink, which is identical to the one before, I feel defeated. Where did you get this from? A friend brought it for me. I returned the cufflinks to Shen Lingshan. Sorry about that. I don't like cufflinks anymore. You can keep them. Shen Lingshan was initially full of anticipation until I replied to him with that. He visibly became disappointed. Don't you like it? I can buy you another one. You can pick whichever you want. She looks a bit anxious. I waved my hand. You don't have to do that. I don't need any souvenirs. Shen Lingshan was frozen in place. He looked at me with a puzzled expression. He muttered to himself, "Why did you used to like it so much? You said that's in the past." I don't like it anymore. She clenched her fist tightly, suppressing the urge inside her. She forced a bitter smile. Is it that she doesn't like cufflinks anymore? Or that she doesn't like me anymore? Shen Lingshan stared intensely into my eyes. The corners of her eyes were slightly red. Her gaze seemed filled with reluctance, yet also with resignation. Even his usually cold and arrogant voice. Now my voice is getting hoarse too. I had all the answers for him, but he still wouldn't give up and asked me again. I'm leaving for abroad with Zhao Yang. Aren't you going to try to keep me here? If you just say, don't go to me, I'll stay, Shen Lingshan. We've lived together for 3 years. You should know my temper very well. She completely broke down. She tilted her head, looking at me with an incredulous expression. In a hoarse voice, she said, Huh? Shen Lingshan patted her chest. The words stuck in her throat, unable to come out. I've heard that people can't speak when they're in the deepest pain, but I just couldn't connect the word pain with Shen Lingshan. He leaned against the doorframe, grinning foolishly. As he laughed, tears began to fall. After a long pause, Shen Lingshan finally covered her chest and said self-mockingly, I always thought the person I loved was Zhao Yang. With you, it was at most just dependence. Even when I was with you back then, it was mainly because you resembled Zhao Yang a bit. But it wasn't until after the divorce that I realized the one I truly loved wasn't Zhao Yang, but you. I know I'm being pathetic, but I can't help it. Shen Lingshan, your emotions are quite unstable right now. I think it's best not to continue this conversation. I'll call Zhao Yang to come pick you up. You should go back with her. I told you I just can't handle it. The scene of a woman crying and wailing. It's simply a torment for me. I can't take it. Shen Lingshan abruptly shook my hand off. She snatched my phone away. Ling Ran, if I had come clean with you earlier and admitted my mistakes sooner, would our outcome have been different? No, I've already answered that question. I can't say something I don't mean to her. Shen Lingshan might be the one I've never directly addressed. The feelings between us might have caused some misunderstandings until now. So let me tell you now, there is no possibility for us anymore. I don't love you anymore. The best outcome for us is to forget each other. You and Zhao Yang should settle down abroad. And I'll start my new life as well. Do you think I haven't tried to forget you? Shen Lingshan suddenly shouted. Her lips were trembling. He spread his hands and shook his head, saying he couldn't do it. I also want to make things work between us. I don't want to dream about you every day. Now I'm running over to you like a madwoman, but I really can't do it. I came here to talk things out. I just want to know, what if you still have a bit of longing for me? What if, just what if, you still love me? Lindgren, I've already missed it once. I don't want to miss it a second time. Just then, my phone suddenly rang. Shen Lingshan glanced at the caller ID. Without a second thought, she hung up. But just a few seconds later, Su Qingyan arrived at my front door via the elevator. He seemed taken aback when he saw Shen Lingshan. Then he walked over and casually linked arms with me. What are you doing here to see Linrun again? Shen Lingshan saw how close I was with Su Qingyan. She actually started to laugh. What does it have to do with you if you two are together? Su Qingyan said. Shen Lingshan looked at me with a face full of despair. Yesterday, Zhaoyong said he wanted to take me abroad, but I refused. I came to find you because I wanted to see you. Now I've finally seen you, but it would have been better not to. Her tone was surprisingly flat. It was as if she was talking about something completely unrelated to her. But her eyes couldn't deceive anyone. Shen Lingshan stumbled around and turned. She pressed the elevator button. All of this is my doing. It's all my fault. It's also because I stubbornly refused to divorce her. She hates me too much to care. How could she possibly give me a pleasant look? The elevator arrived at our floor. Shen Lingshan stepped inside. She stubbornly wiped away her tears. He waved at me, forced a smile that seemed distant. On the day I left, when Zhao Yong helped her move out, he greeted me the same way. But this time was different. I could tell he was really leaving. The knot in my heart finally unraveled. I hugged Su Qingyan tightly. She looked a bit confused. She patted my back. What's wrong? Are you not feeling well? I shook my head and smiled. Thank you, Su Qingyan. The weather was clear, and the sunlight streamed in at an angle through the glass window. It stretched our shadows long. In the days to come, I hope we can continue like this, simply and peacefully. Let's move forward steadily. The end.